From the ashes of silence, we rise, where stories of survival ignite hope, strength, and transformation. Like the phoenix, we soar from the flames of abuse, reclaim our voices, and stand as a beacon for those still fighting. Every story shared is a testament to resilience, and every truth told sparks the fire of rebirth. This is your platform. This is your voice. Together, we rise.
Hey there, fellow phoenixes. Let's rise together. Welcome to Resilient Truth Rising. Previously, Resilience Unplugged, the podcast where we dive into the untold stories behind true crime. I'm your host, Laura Cunningham. Today, we're addressing a topic that affects millions: abuse and its many forms. It's not just physical. Abuse is emotional, financial, and sexual, and they all leave deep scars. Too often, victims suffer in silence, feeling isolated and helpless.
And hey, it's your girl Kaylee here, resident skeptic, always ready with a side eye and to dish out some sass alongside this heavy topic. It's true though, abuse can wear so many masks, and each one is just as dangerous. It's like that old saying, behind every smile, there might be a storm brewing, and trust me, there are some serious storms in today's case. Let's just say it's like walking into a heartbreak tornado.
It absolutely is. I'm Jessica, and with a heart full of faith and passion for uplifting conversations, I bring to you today the story of Francine Hughes, a woman whose life became a haunting example of the effects of domestic violence, and whose fight for freedom transformed the conversation around domestic violence and set the courtroom precedent in 1970s America. From emotional manipulation to physical violence, Francine endured a horrific cycle of abuse at the hands of her husband, James Mickey Hughes. Her story is one of faith, resilience, and the power to rise from the darkest of places.
Before we dive into the full story of Francine Hughes, there's a rare recording from 1977 that offers a chilling glimpse into her world. A moment captured before the flames of her past ignited a movement for justice. Listen closely, because this moment speaks louder than words.
She's rubbing it into my hair, hitting me. I remember how I felt sitting there. And it was just, I don't know if I can describe it to you, but it was the most alone feeling in the whole world. I could hear the kids crying out, "Mommy, are you all right?"
Francine Hughes was born on August 17, 1947 in Stockbridge, Michigan. She was the youngest of 3 children in a family struggling with poverty and instability. Her upbringing, with a strict father and a mother facing her own battles, shaped how Francine saw herself and her relationships. She never really felt like she fit in. The weight of hardship was something that she carried with her from a young age.
And that sense of feeling out of place followed her into her teenage years. She married James Mickey Hughes at just 17, believing marriage might bring stability to her life. But as we have heard in many similar stories, what seems like a happy start can quickly turn into something far more sinister, leaving Francine feeling alone and abandoned in her own home, trapped by a cycle of abuse.
Oh, absolutely. You know the drill. Boy meets girl, boy charms girl, boy turns into a nightmare. It was like someone flipped a switch. Mikey went from Prince Charming to King of Gaslighting. He had a whole repertoire. Seriously, this guy didn't have the red flags. He had an entire parade of them.
The abuse escalated quickly. Mickey isolated Francine from her friends and family, controlled every aspect of her life, and used fear to dominate her. By the time they had 3 kids, the abuse was relentless. Hell, I even remember reading one report where Francine stated that she went out and bought some new clothes, and when he saw her in them, he tore them off of her and destroyed them. She stated she wasn't really sure why he did that. She guessed that she just looked too pretty. Later, other police reports showed from 1976 that Francine had severe physical and emotional distress. It's terrifying to imagine the fear she must have lived in daily. Her spirit, already weighed down by her past, was slowly being crushed.
Terrifying doesn't even cut it. I mean, Francine probably could have had the police on speed dial if that was the thing back then. She reached out for help so many times, but it's like the system just hit snooze on her situation. It's like trying to scream underwater. Every attempt to reach out for help just fell flat. Mickey wasn't just abusing her physically, he was a master manipulator, using the kids as pawns. Talk about a psychological chess game from hell.
It's truly heartbreaking how so many survivors, like Francine, feel trapped in their circumstances. Mickey manipulated her with fear and guilt. He even used their children as leverage in his twisted games. The system didn't offer her much support despite her continued efforts and cries for help. She felt like she had no way out and no one to depend on but herself. There's something deep inside of you, and that something whispered to her and probably even screamed. Something stronger than fear. I believe that something is faith. It's hope. It's the knowledge that something greater is out there, even in the worst of times, that tells you to never give up.
That all came to a head in March 1977. After yet another brutal attack, Francine snapped. She poured gasoline around the house while Mickey was sleeping and set it on fire. Her intention? Just to scare him, but the fire quickly got out of control and Mickey didn't survive. Francine was charged with murder, but her act of desperation ignited a national debate about domestic violence. What's even more tragic is that it took such an extreme measure for the world to notice the hell she was living in.
This trial was like the courtroom drama of the century. You've got the prosecution this was premeditated murder, and Francine's defense team basically saying, what would you do after years of this nightmare? And then Francine drops this line during the trial, I just wanted to be free. I mean, chills. Talk about a mic drop moment.
That moment really captured the desperation she felt after years of living in fear. But in that desperation, there was still a glimmer of hope. She didn't want to take a life, she just wanted freedom. To escape the prison that had become her reality. This is a reminder that even in our weakest moments, faith can lead us to places we never thought possible. Francine's trial revealed the horrors she endured. And in the end, the jury acquitted her on May 12th, 1977. Her story shifted how the courts now view domestic violence and the psychological toll that violence takes on its survivors.
After the trial, it wasn't exactly smooth sailing for Francine. The spotlight was intense. Even though she was free, she had to rebuild her life with her daughters and find some sort of peace after all the chaos.
Right? And while the legal battle was over, the emotional scars were still fresh. But Francine did not fade into the background. She turned her pain into advocacy, speaking out for survivors of domestic violence. She found purpose in her struggles, showing that the darkest chapters of your life can sometimes light the way for others' challenges that they face.
That is what's so powerful about Francine's story. She used her experience to help others. I want to show women that they can survive. They can get out. That quote from Francine gives me chills, especially knowing how her resilient story has changed so many lives. Her message was not only one of survival, but of faith and redemption. Through belief in oneself and a higher purpose, no one has to stay in a broken and lonely state cycling through abuse. It was this kind of faith that fueled Francine's resilience and gave her the strength to inspire so many others, even years later.
Francine's transformation is a remarkable testament to the human spirit. Her story resonates with countless victims, people who feel stuck in their own situations. She was living proof that even in the darkest moments, there's hope for change. We can learn so much from her strength, and it reminds us to keep fighting for a world where every woman can feel safe.
And you know what's wild? We don't hear much about Francine's life today, but her legacy, that's still burning bright. Francine's courage inspired so many women to speak out, to demand better, and to say no more.
Exactly. Her story, while rooted in pain, has become a beacon of hope and has given strength to so many others. It's a reminder that even in the toughest situations, resilience, healing, and faith are possible. It's about finding the light in the heap of the ashes.
That's the power of her story. Healing can come from even the most painful experiences. Francine's journey reminds us all that change is possible, and that by believing in something bigger than our circumstances, we can rise.
Thanks for sticking with us through this powerful episode on Francine Hughes. And hey, if you or someone you know is dealing with domestic violence, don't be afraid to reach out. Help is out there and you are not alone.
That's right. You can call the Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or text BEGIN to 88788 and begin your path to liberation. Next week, we'll take on another intense case, the story of Richard Spencer, a man abused by his wife throughout their 20-year marriage. We'll dig into the tragic event that changed his life forever and explore the broader issues around the other side of the coin, where the man is the victim.
Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until next time, stay safe, stay faithful, stay informed, and stay resilient.